Bang! That was not how it was supposed to start off, but that is how we started off. Welcome everybody back to the Blerd Dad Podcast, a space where we like to have unfiltered conversations and nerd out about parenthood. I'm your host, Glenn Lawrence, and I'm back again here to talk about all things parenthood, or most things parenthood. And first of all, I just got to start with a parental success story. I was able to um, practice my recall, and now the kid listens to me. If I give him a good hey, if I give him one of those, he's hey, he'll come right back to me, snaps back, and I love it. I love it. I love the fact that he will listen. We did do some riding of the bike. That was really cool. So I got him on his bike, and it's not a pedal bike. It's just like he just sits on it, kind of like a scooter thing. And I held the handlebars and pushed him through, and that was fun. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. He enjoyed it. So those are a couple parenting wins. Personal wins. Had a couple personal wins. I was out doing some comedy this week. I was at the DC Improv for their open mic. I think I did a pretty good set. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to post it or something, or send it somewhere so people can check it out. But it was a good time, man. It was a good time. It was fun. I also got a show I'm headlining that's going to be coming up. This is going to release on Friday that night. So if you're listening to this in the morning, tonight you can go and check out my show at the Electric Palm. There's only like 5 tickets left, so hopefully you've already bought your ticket. If you haven't, check to see if you get one now, and then go. But if you're listening to this, if you listen to the Blerd Dad podcast episodes, as soon as they drop, you will be able to get those tickets lickety split, and you'll be able to see the show, see me headlining this weekend. That should be fun. And if not, then on Saturday I'll be doing a show for Veterans Grow America. That's in Woodbridge, so you can check that out. Then also Friday or Sunday, I'll be doing 24 new jokes with Parish Sachet on Sunday, so you can check that out. And if not, I'll have more dates coming up, more available. Now, one thing we like to do is make sure that our sponsors are well recognized, and our sponsor, as always, is They Made Me Wear It. They Made Me Wear.it. It is a husband and wife team, and they are on a mission to help dogs discover their fashionable side. And they're not just limited to dogs. They got stuff for cats, iguanas. If you have a baby alligator, they can figure something out, maybe get an anklet for it, and anything you need, they're going to really help you out with that. They are great people, and they do great things. Also, whenever you're shopping in their store, you are helping out Hope for Paws. It's an animal rescue organization that works tirelessly to get animals off these mean streets. That's a problem. We got a homelessness problem, we got an immigration problem, and we got a pets without homes problem. So you'll be helping to solve the third one with Hope for Paws when you shop with them. So whether you need Halloween costume, an adorable dress, comfy jammies, or a custom designer gown, you should check out theymademewear.it. Your fur baby will thank you. They'll be laced up in the latest fashion. And yeah, that's it. I don't know what you're waiting for. You should check out theymademewear.it. Use code word BLERD for 15% off at checkout. Now, here's the deal. We got an amazing guest today. She is someone who has been tearing it down in the DMV scene. I'm talking about Ray Diva. She's a stand-up comedian. She's a businesswoman. She's a motivational speaker, and she's a force to be reckoned with. She hit the ground running years and years ago at the famous Gotham Comedy Club in New York City. She's been making people laugh ever since she started. She's a wife, a mother of 4. She's from Baltimore and never misses a beat with her hilarious interpretation of her family life. She occasionally hosts Laughs on the Harbor, which is produced by Bob Sumner of Bad Boys of Comedy and Def Comedy Jam. She's a regular on the comedy scene, and she's performed in such illustrious clubs as the Baltimore Comedy Factory, Funny Bone in Virginia Beach and elsewhere, Jokes and Notes in Chicago, Magooby's Joke House in Maryland, Uptown Comedy Club in Atlanta. Justin's also in Atlanta, and the Laugh House in Philadelphia. So many different things she has done. She's amazing. She also hosted last night when I was at the DC Improv. So that was where I got to talk to her a little bit more and invited her on to this show, which I will bring her into now. Without further ado, please welcome Miss Ray Diva. What is going on, Ray?
Who wrote that intro? And AI? Because that was amazing.
Was it good?
But it's just a testament to how long I've been in stand-up, because a couple of those clubs are closed now. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that, you know what? I found it. There was like a site that had your like bio on there. So I went on there, I looked at, and I was like, I hope all this is right. And but the past doesn't change. You've done all those amazing things.
I've done all that, and I'm trying to do that and more in the future.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I hear your name like a lot in the DMV comedy scene, and I had always been like, who is Ray Diva? Because I keep hearing her name, like I hear her name, and I always hear it in a good light. It's always like good stuff. But I'm like, I never seen her perform. Never seen her before. And then I saw you perform at I think DC Comedy Loft, and I was like, yo, that right there, that was like killer. She's oh man, it was amazing.
I'm flattered that you heard it in a good light, because I'm very controversial. I mean, and it's okay, in this business, it's okay to not go with the flow. It's okay to stand out and not be a part of the in crowd sometimes, so I'm glad if that's the case.
Okay, cool. Well, listen, I've only heard the good things. Maybe I'm not talking to everybody, but it's almost like you're like, I've only heard good things. You're like, oh, maybe you should have heard more. But no, it was good things, and I've seen you perform, and it's been amazing. And then the other introduction to you was you got to host for improv, and I was there, and of course, it's one of the earlier times that I've been doing improv, so I'm a little bit like, all right, I want to really do a good job. And you're such a good host, so gracious, and so like
so amazing.
Inviting.
I have to give you your flowers. You did so good, and because I feel like you're a headliner at this point, correct?
I mean, I think I'm feature level, but like in terms of like bar shows and like local shows, I can do it. You know what I mean? Like I can do it. I wouldn't say that I am a club headliner yet. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a different thing. See, here's the thing about comedy. I feel like every position in comedy is like a job, and you should know what that job is. So there's a lot of people who say like, I could do like 30 minutes or or amount of time. Like I could do an hour, but is it a headlining hour? And I'm very like I can do a very strong featured set, like even a long extended feature set where I have to stretch or whatever. But in terms of like a headliner set for a club, I feel like I would be, like I could do it, but I wouldn't be like, let me get that. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people just want to jump ship, be like, yeah, I'm ready to headline already. And I'm like, there's a lot of smoke that comes with that. You know what I mean? Because first of all, when you're doing bar shows, people are playing $10, right? $10 is cool to be like, okay, that guy sucked. That's the cost of a beer or whatever. When you're going to one of these clubs and someone just done spent, 50, 60, $100, plus they got to buy 2 drinks. And then you come out there and you are like par or subpar. Like that's a whole different level of anger. No one's giving you golf claps when they spent that much money.
Right, but you looked so comfortable last night, and I just know I felt like the majority of the comedians that was on the show last night, even though it said open mic, these are established, really good comedians, and sometimes it's hard to go from headlining and featuring back to that 5 minutes. That hot 5, that hot 3, that hot 2 that we start off with to get somebody to see us, we actually evolve into stories and into longer bits, and then push it into that 5. Sometimes you're like, well, I gotta go back to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And also when you start doing longer sets, you get used to being able to fill things out. Like, usually when you're featuring or you're, doing a headline set, you can feel them out for 3 minutes, you know what I mean? Like play around. And then it just kind of brings you back to your roots. Like, no, this is about get to the funny quick, get to the funny quick, get to the funny quick. So that's why it's kind of good in that respect to do it. I don't know. I've been doing comedy for, I would say probably like 7, 8 years now.
And don't listen like you started yesterday.
It does. It feels like I'm still like new in it, but I feel like I've done a lot in like the short amount of time. I wish I could go back to when I first started and be like, yeah, I'm really good. And I just started, but I'm like, now I've been doing it for a while. It's like, yeah, you should be like serviceable if you've been doing this long. But just within doing it, I feel like I've analyzed comedy like very like what would I say? Like not introspective, like very deeply. I've looked into it, just like everything you're supposed to do in it. So I feel like I've analyzed what I'm supposed to be doing, also what you're supposed to be doing as one of these spots on the show, like a host or a feature or a headliner or whatever. So, I've done a lot of work in the thinking of it, and what we should be doing. So I thank you for recognizing it, because sometimes it's hard to get recognized because everybody's doing their thing and worrying about themselves. And I appreciate you for appreciating me.
No, and the thing is the beauty of the improv, and people, why would you want to do an open mic? Because they normally have crowds that come to laugh, versus the bar crowds and these other shows that we do sometime where it's just like you got to go and tickle people and bring Richard Pryor on the screen with you. No, the improv crowds, they're good audience to gauge where you are with mainstream comedy, and that's important.
Yeah, certainly. And so, I feel like I'm good. It's funny because a lot of times doing like the bar shows, I like the I like the degree of difficulty. You know what I mean? Like, oh, y'all ain't laughing. Let me see if I could get y'all to laugh. And sometimes it does not work. Sometimes you fail at it. But a lot of times I'll be like, that hard work, I feel like pays off when you go to like a club and whatnot. Oh, the other place I saw you? I saw you at the Port Comedy Club,
The
and you
Port.
had your daughter. Was that your daughter? You had your daughter there. She was
That
trying
was
comedy.
my daughter. And yeah, she's saying she's going to get back in the game, and I'm just going to wait for her to get back in the game, because one thing about stand up, and your kids are not that old yet, but this is something that somebody has to want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like you cannot force somebody. You cannot want this business for somebody more than they want it for themselves. Because let's just be real, I made it. Like, I mean, really, what can I do for you? Because if I can do it for you, I can be able to do it for me. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
So it's like you gotta want it. And to be honest, I told my daughter, I said, listen, you can come into stand up and be light years ahead of me just because you're of a different generation. You have a different mindset. You're younger, so I'm always encouraging it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then also you don't have all, because so you got in at a certain time when there was certain rules to the game in a certain way. So you're thinking it's always going to be like that. She's in it in a totally different time where she doesn't have all that, built up like, ooh, I shouldn't do this. Ooh, I can't do this. Ooh, I need to do my joke this way. She doesn't have any of that. She could just come right in and do it. Plus she has all the advice that she could get from you in terms of like, ooh, you might not want to do that. Ooh, don't do over there. Ooh, that's a waste of time. You know what I mean? Like all those little things that we had to go through, going to all those little auditions and different little BS shows that you're like, oh, this is gonna be some, this is gonna be like some exposure. So you're like, that was a waste of time. That was so but it's all a process. It's all beautiful.
It's all part of the game, actually, in your growth and development. I always tell people, like, I'm not that old school comic that sticks to the old school mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I am an older school comic, I feel, because I've been doing stand-up for 14 years. But I felt like I have evolved with the other generations in the sense that I didn't hold on to that as much. But I just feel like you need to go through those things of being frauded and pimped for tickets and told lies to become an established headline. Like, you need to go through some things so that you are validated. That's just my opinion. I feel like, if you take certain routes and then when you hit certain situations, you don't even know how to handle it. If you've never been heckled, how are you going to handle a heckler?
Right. Yeah. 100%.
You can look at somebody and think it's easy all you want to, but you actually got to went through that.
And what's funny is the first thing, when you're doing stand-up, the first thing that I tell everybody who is doing it for the first time is, hey, when you get on stage and you grab that mic, the energy is going to be different. And that is something that you can't tell anybody until they touch that mic and turn and face all the people looking at them, and everybody's looking up at you like, do something. Like, I'm like, that energy hits you and you're like, oh, okay. And that freezes you up. And then you have this thing that you're supposed to say, and then you say it and everybody just keeps staring at you. And then you can't remember anything you were supposed to say. And that energy, it hits you different. So is that was some advice that you gave to your daughter when she was trying to, or what advice did you give to her when she was starting out or restarting?
I just told, my advice is get on the stage, continuously to write and get on the stage, because getting on a stage is giving you that practice. You're going to look at yourself, record yourself, look at yourself. That's something that I was guilty of not doing in my earlier years of stand-up, is recording myself and consistently looking at my set, because you can see your flaws when you play that set back and you look at it. I'm sure 90% of the comedians are like me. When you see yourself on your, in a video, you're like, why did I move this, or I say it like that? I was supposed to say it like those be the things that you actually burn into your spirit to not do the next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, you got to just write and you got to stay on stage. I can't say anything else other than that.
Yeah. Are you proud of her so far in her journey?
I'm proud of her. Yes, I'm proud of all my other kids. I just don't like the fact that one, I want to do stand up. And then I'm like, come on, let's go to the show. And it's a million excuses. You don't really want it. You got to really want it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be here and I'm going to continue to do stand up and try and branch off into other directions. But whenever you're ready, you got a mom that can
do it. It is hard and it is a grind. I'm interested to see what my son, like, his traits are going to be, you know what I mean? Or what he's going to like really be into. Right now, he's kind of like all over the place with his things that he likes. He'll pick up something and play with it for like 2 seconds and then go to the next thing and go to the next thing. Although he gets into drawing a lot. So I'm interested to see how I can cultivate and help. Because the worst thing for me would be like not being passionate or sticking with something long enough to get good at it. You know what I mean?
So how much content do you have about your children in your set?
Well, I mean, I just had them 2 years ago, so 2 years worth.
A lot can happen in 2 years.
A lot can happen in 2 years. But you know what though, for the first little bit of it, I was a little hesitant to speak about him on stage. There was this episode, I don't know if you ever saw it, but Jordan Peele, he made a new episodes of The Twilight Zone. I don't know if you ever saw it.
I haven't seen the new episodes.
But one of the first ones that he made was called The Comedian. And in this episode of The Twilight Zone, spoiler alert, I'm going to tell y'all what happened. In this episode of the comedian, or The Twilight Zone called The Comedian, he would go on stage, right? And then it wasn't going well. So then he started like roasting or talking about somebody that he knew personally, right? Like his friend who was also a comedian. So whenever he talked about somebody, that person would disappear and then nobody knew him anymore. And that person would like be gone, So as the story went on, he's killing with this material about like his friend. And then that person doesn't exist anymore. So he burnt it, can't say it anymore. And then he has to go on to his girlfriend, and then he goes on to his mom, and then his dad. And every time he does sets about him, those sets kill, but then that person disappears. My point is, I feel like when you start saying things about like your family or like your kid, all of a sudden it gives it's almost like that person doesn't exist as like a real thing, you know what I mean? Like a real person with feelings and emotions. It's just a caricature that you've made up for the stage. And then 2, it opens up like everybody else to have their little opinion, and you know what I mean, like talk. That's what I took from it. I was just like, that's a real interesting concept. Once you bring somebody on stage, that person's like, they're fair game. So if someone talks trash about your kid, oh well, you were on stage talking about him, like I can't,
Yeah.
And so part of me didn't want to bring him on stage for that reason. But I've gotten over it. I'm like, all right, I can kind of deal with it a little bit more as he gets, because he just keeps doing really funny things, you know what I mean? So so now I do talk about him a little bit more. I don't know, do you feel that way? Do you feel like when you bring someone on stage, it's like now they're fair game kind of? Or
no, because I do believe that you really have to draw from your personal life to give yourself an identity amongst thousands of comedians. Because when I started off, I was funny and I could roast a crowd. Like I could definitely do that so good, and learn quickly that stand up it's about being funny, but it's about being unique. And so I wanted to be booked, and I had to learn, like, it's a lot of people who are funny, and you could be funny on that stage and they can forget you as soon as you get off. Like, oh, that girl was funny, but don't know anything about you. So I feel like I learned that you have to make it personal so that people can leave with you. I used to do about my little sneaky fat 6-year-old, right? I have a whole bit on him. And people would come up to me after the show. Well, how is that little boy? Don't you talk about him? I love him. Like, remember, you the one with the little fat. So
Right.
you have sometimes, I feel, personalize your set and cater it uniquely to you, because a lot of people, oh, they stole my joke. Nobody can steal your life, right? So when you cater your content around your life, I feel like it's more attachable to the audience. That's my personal feelings. But I can, it's all kind of comedians out here.
That is true. That is true. Some people don't talk anything about their life. They just, have like one-liners, and they're fine with it. Here's the other thing that's kind of crazy is like when you've been doing comedy long enough, people be like, oh, like, who do you think's funny? Or, oh, that person's not funny. And after you've been doing it for a while, you have seen everybody go on stage and like kill people that you like. That person has never got a laugh. And then they go out there and it's just their night. And then boom, you just like, okay. So I've learned that, it's never, I mean, there's clearly sometimes people are like, they're not good at it. They're not going to get those all the time, but everybody's got a chance at getting it one night where they just, whatever happened, there was just magic. And that night they were killing it,
The comedy gods have their choice of when they want to rein in the laughter and they not. But what I will say is sometimes you get funny at year 10. You get funny at year 11. And comedy is subjective. What I think is funny, somebody might think is trash. And what somebody else might think is trash, I might think is hilarious. So it's so many people in the world. I would give my advice to a comedian. Don't worry about whether somebody says you're funny or not. Worry about being consistent, getting on the road, doing the back end part, being busy, calling, showing up, talking to producers, talking to whoever, whatever club. Just keep doing it. At some point, it's gonna happen.
Got to pay dividends. All right, so that's good advice for comedians. What good advice would you give to a new father? Like, I'm trying to do the fatherhood thing, and so I got like this dude. He's in toddlerhood, and he's full fledged in the as my uncle would say, the terrific twos. But he's being wild right now. What advice you give to a new parent trying to handle toddlerhood?
So you might not like this, but I believe in raising your kids like you were raised, especially if you turned out to be a great individual. I feel like it's too much emphasis being put on the new. And ultimately, I thought our parents did a great job with us. I'm just going to keep it 100. Now, it's a couple of things here and there that you could tweak because technology has changed. But I just, I have 4 children, so it's no book into how to be a great parent. I just love my mom. Now, is her style of raising the most acceptable nowadays? No, but I get it, and we cannot allow our kids to be so mesmerized and indoctrinated in what social media and other people are doing that we no longer have control of our households. So as a mother of 4, I would say stick to what you know and what your gut tells you. Now, of course, you can't do what my parents did. You can't pick up a pot and throw it across the room and knock somebody on the floor, just because they ain't washed the dishes right. But the principle is the same. What I say goes in my house. So I just say be consistent. And it don't mean children going to turn out great.
Yeah, the big thing in my house when I grew up was like respect. Like there wasn't like a lot of rules, like especially nowadays, like everyone's so worried about language. Like, oh, don't say this in front of them. You don't want them to curse. In my house, when we grew up, my mom did not care about language, but she did care about respect. So with respect, obviously, you're not going to be cursing in front of your mom. You know what I mean? Like, but she wasn't like, hiding the word from us or anything like that. And I feel like I kind of, am the same way. I'm doing all this stuff, but he will learn to like respect. So, you ask for something, you please and thank you. Yeah, look at me when I'm talking to you, all these type of things, which I think help him grow up and have a foundation of respect, at a baseline level, knows what that is, knows what that means. Now he's fighting it. And it's funny because you can see it in his face. Like he'll do things. He's 2, and he'll look me in the face like when he knows he's not supposed to be doing something, and then he'll give like a little smile. Now the problem is he's cute, so I'll look at him and I'll be like, "You're like I don't honestly in my heart of hearts, I'm like I don't really want to discipline you, dude. Just can you please just listen to me because I don't want to discipline you. Like you're cute, I don't want to discipline you." But then he'll just like push the buttons. I'm like, all right, you really trying to test me, so now I got to do it. But the big thing for me is like making sure like respect is like learned and earned. Like I got to do it, and like you said, you got to be consistent, and that's how you like earn the respect. Like, okay, daddy, every time he's going to say this, he's going to do this. This is the thing. But I'm having fun with it. I'm I only have one now, so I feel like that's easy. You have like how far apart are your kids, if you don't mind me asking?
Like stairs. I had like 1, 2, and 4. So, and then I had my oldest daughter who is 8 years older than the 3 youngest ones. So she was a big help to me. But what I commend you on is just being a stand-up dad, a stand-up Black father, and not abandoning your post. Like you're actually in it with your son. And I love that because I am a firm believer that we need Black fathers in the homes. We need fathers in our kids' lives. So I love seeing fathers with their kids because it's needed.
Yeah. What's interesting is that's part of the reason why I have the podcast too, because especially during comedy, you always hear like the stereotype of, Black fathers and whatnot. And so I at least wanted to be one voice out there like, hey, here's a Black dad who's doing it. And I mean, I've said this so many times on the podcast. All I know are good Black fathers. Like the stereotype that I hear all the time. I never see that. That's not what I've seen. I've had a good father and a good stepfather. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, right. Like I do. And all the people that I know, all other comedians and whatnot, good fathers. You know what I mean? So I'm just like throwing out one more voice out there that, hey, Black fathers are here and trying to do everything that we can when we can for our kids and being like very engaged, So I thank you for saying that. And I'm just interested to see how this kid like grows up. He's like right now he's cute. You haven't met him yet, but I'm telling you, he's 2, but he's got personality. Like he says random like sentences now, and just like he's just like putting things together, and every day he's like saying more and more stuff. It's just wild to me how much he's like saying sentences and like putting things together, and he's talking about plots and like stories and stuff like that when he's watching. He's like, oh, this person wants to do this, oh, but they're mad, oh, they got to go to the house, and that's a scary house, I don't know about that. You're like, it's like, what? The other day he asked my wife, he was like, mommy, why are you being so silly?
And guess what? He might be the one to write a movie for you to star in. Like that's the kids that are coming up nowadays.
Yes, please.
I know from my kids to now, these new kids are different.
Aren't they? They
are different. Like you can't even treat them like you treated them old school babies. No, you got to step your game up because they come out smart already.
It's almost like they come out with advanced knowledge of what's going on like around them. You know what I mean? Like I swear to you not, he came out like, and at one, he's like trying to grab my phone and like play with it. And I'm like, how do babies know to play with the phone?
I believe you. I seen a little baby in a stroller. I don't know. This baby was between 8 months and maybe 1. That baby swiped that phone so fast. I stood and just was amazed. I'm like, was she better than me? Like, how was she know? She was just, I was like, what the hell?
And then in your mind, you'll be like, oh, they're just playing with they're just swiping. They don't know what they're doing. And then they'll stop and like read. They'll like stop and scroll and then read and then click a link and then look at it and, rub their chin. And you're like, how grown is this baby? Like it's looking at the Wall Street Journal on the iPhone. It's like, look at that stock tips.
Doing. And to stamp that, YouTube puts out a lot of content for kids. If you actually go on YouTube and look at some of the biggest content creators, a lot of their content that does the most numbers are geared towards children. So these children are internet and social media savvy at very early ages, and they're making money off of these kids.
Yeah, I'm just happy that they have nursery rhymes now that aren't like corny like we had when we were young. Like, I don't know, have you heard Gracie's Corner? Gracie's Corner is that's amazing. Gracie be
I
getting
don't
it,
know.
bro. Say that again.
I've listened to Gracie's Corner, but I don't like. I mean, I think it's catchy and cute. But my kids grew up on Dora and My Cyrus and all that stuff. So yeah.
Listen, Gracie is going to be a mega star once she turns Beyonce age or Taylor Swift age or whatever. She's going to be a mega star because these kids right now are rocking to Gracie. And I'm rocking to Gracie. Sometimes like when we have to play him like lullabies and songs, like I don't mind. Like I'll be like bouncing, like just like hitting it. She's and they got like tons of other different people, but I was just very surprised at how hip the songs are and everything that they got for him now. And I'm excited to see how he like grows and stuff. He's really into like artwork and stuff now. So I just want to cultivate that. Hey, have you ever thought about how you cultivated your kids creative spark, like creative energy? Like, have you done like some cool things to get them to be more creative or help their creativity?
Oh no. And I had one. Well, okay, so I kind of like put on my daughters, my youngest daughter and my oldest daughter too, but not as much. I wanted her to sing because I love to sing. I started out singing before I even thought about doing stand-up. And so she never really showed a big interest in it like I wanted her to. And then my youngest son had a really big interest in dancing. That went left. But yeah.
What do you mean?
We don't even want to talk about the tragedy. But anyway. So I did because my parents never gave entertainment validation. So when I wanted to be a singer, that wasn't a career path that my parents wanted to validate or say, yeah, go sing, go move. It was like, what? A singer? No, you need to do da-da-da and da and so. So with my kids, when they came to me with a creative or wanted to, I would support that because I know how it feels to have parents to say, no, that's not a good route. Even when I said I was going to become a stand-up comedian, my mother thought I was crazy. Totally.
Yeah.
It's just like, what's wrong with you? It's like a disease.
But now you're out there doing it, and hopefully it's like she like sees the merit and the value in it.
She came around before she passed. My mom was one of my biggest supporters. But it took about 6 years. And actually, let me just say this. It took for my mom's friends to come and be like, I saw your daughter and she's funny. For her to really start to come around and be like, my daughter's doing this and she's not going to not do it anymore. And then next thing you know, her and her friends are in the audience. Or they say, oh, like that's so-and-so, he's funny, or I love you, or you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Right. Was that the turning point when friends told her that it was good, that you were good?
Turning point for her to say, for somebody to say, your daughter's really good at this. Because I came in and stand up late in life.
Yeah. My mom who is an author, she's written like 30 something books or whatever. Yeah, she's written tons of books and she's still writing. She's still like, if I called her right now, she'd be like, what do you want? I'm trying to finish a book. But when she had me, she said, oh, I'm giving you this name because I think you're gonna be a star or do something like in entertainment or whatever. So this is a very strong entertainment name. So it's just interesting now that I'm like going for it, because I don't know, I had this thing of feeling like I was very young all the time. Like I felt like I was the young kid or the young dude or whatever. And then, as you get older, that feeling doesn't leave you and you look around, you're like, oh snap, I'm 30 something, like I'm no longer young, but I've been acting like, oh, I'm the young guy. But it's just funny, like stepping into what she had kind of prepared for me. And I feel like this part of having like this podcast and part of all the, things that I'm doing are trying to like set the stage for him if he wanted to like jump into something or whatever, and just really cultivate that creativity and like cultivate him into being something great or something cool.
So can I ask you a question? How old are you? Do you mind answering that?
How old am I?
Yeah,
Can I first say something? Can I first say this? Like I'm old to the point where I was talking to this dude who was like 20 something, right? And we were just talking about how he was young. And I was like, how old are you? And he was like, oh, I'm 23 or whatever.
Okay.
And I was like, cool. And then he said, how old are you? And I was like, fuck you. Like, I feel like I'm that old, like where I'm like, I don't even want to say no, but I'm 43 now. So, that's
really?
like,
so, and your son, your first son is 2?
Yeah. So I had him when I was 40,
So you're going to have the patience of Job with your son. Okay. Yes. When you get 40, listen, let me just say this. I had my first child at 18, right? So
wait, go back for a second, because you froze up for just a second. But I'm super interested to hear the early part of your birthing process. Froze, but we're going to get her back in just a second. But yeah, this is a good conversation because being older, this is something that I've also said. Being a 40-something-year-old dad, much more patience, tons more patience for my kid. I feel like when I was younger, I wouldn't have had the patience, because when you're younger, you got to rip and run. You got things to do. You want to get out. You want to get to see people. You want to experience life. Once you get 40, you're like, I think I've experienced a lot of what I wanted to experience. And that's the other thing. Like, I did a lot of things that I want to do. I feel like I used my youth on myself. And then sometimes when you're younger, you use your youth on your child. So you're 20 something, you have all that youthful energy and you use it on raising your kid. Now I feel like I use that energy on myself. Now I'm older. However, I do have like the wisdom for this period of raising my son up. So that I feel like is in and of itself a, blessing. So it's like, if you have the kids young, you have the energy to do things with them, but you don't quite have the wisdom. If you're older, you have the wisdom to do things with them, but you don't quite have the energy. But I am going to start working out so I could get some more energy. That's the other thing too. I feel like I'm gonna start working out once he starts getting of age to like start working out. He's 2 now. We'll go into the gym and kind of play around. But as he gets older, I'm gonna be like, nah, we in the gym, bro. We in the gym. We bringing it back. Me and you, dad's getting fit. You're getting them abs back. You about to get it cracking, dog. So we'll see. Let's see if we can get her back. There we go.
I was backstage.
Oh, okay. There we go. Did it work? It's working.
It was getting so good. The combo was so amazing.
I know. No, so you were literally talking about how being an older parent, being in like your 40s, you're gonna have like the patience of the like super patience because you're older. So that's where you were when we left.
Well, first of all, I wanted to say to you, you look absolutely amazing. I had no idea that you were I thought you were like in your early 30s. So kudos to you. That's that black don't crack. Okay. Trying. Second of all, yes. Second of all, yeah, the patience level with the kids are you have so much more patience when you're older. When you're younger, you have a short fuse. You do.
Yeah. But I was just saying, and I've said this to myself, is I spent my youth on myself. So my 20s, 30s spent on myself, ripping and running, doing everything. And so now I don't have that youth to spend on them, but I do have wisdom because of all the life that I've lived that I can impart on them at this age. And when you're young and you have kids, you don't have the wisdom, but you got the energy and you know what I mean, to rip and run with them. So it's kind of like a trade-off, and it's a little,
you don't look like you're going to need a cane no time soon. I mean,
you know what? I do feel good. But sometimes I do feel very much like my age. Like when I wake up in the morning, it is like it takes a moment. Like that the joke I told last night, it is so I have to do a stock of like, am I okay? Like, is everything all right? Am I really gonna be okay?
Well, you're the same age. You're the same age as my husband, so you good.
Okay, cool. You saying y'all both old?
Pretty much.
That's
Because
how I feel, man.
I'm actually a couple of years older than him. So yeah.
Okay, you see, look, you black don't crack. You look great. You look
No,
amazing.
listen, let me tell you something about that old age. It creeps up on you. So it's like one day you wake up and you can't open your eyes. You're like, why my eyes won't open it? Like you said, and then it take you a minute, then you can open your eyes, and then your vision is blurry, and then by noon you can see clear. That's that kind of.
Yeah, 100. This is what I say. I say when you get older, it's like you just wake up. It's like, oh, I guess I can't use my ring finger anymore, or like, oh, I guess my foot falls asleep, like or I guess I don't use my elbow. I guess I can't smell out of my left nostril. Like
Well,
all
you
these
was
things
talking
just happen.
about that. You was talking about the diabetes, the numbing of the hand, correct?
Yeah.
That is so real. Like when you said it, I went through a stage where I was like eating too much sugar. And so when in the middle of the night, like if I laid a certain way, my hands would, so now I just try and drink like 2 or 3 things of water before I go to sleep, just so that I won't get numb arms and hands and shit.
Yeah, listen, everything, like you said, comedy is about being real, and everything I was saying was like real things that happened that I was like, is this life? Is this what I'm going to be living through? So anyway, so how did you handle being a young mom?
Very well. Well, because I got married young.
Okay.
So I got married while I was pregnant. So I had support. I've never been a single mom. So
Okay.
I don't know that story, and I don't want to know that story, because at the end of the day, I do think the best thing for children is a 2-parent household. So I was raised a Muslim, so I had a lot of principles instilled in me, growing up, not traditional. So it was fine, I breastfed my kids, I just took certain things with me, how I was raised into raising my children. And it wasn't all right. My children say things to me now, and I'm like, stop lying on me. And they swear by their life that I did these things to them. And I don't remember, but it's okay. It's okay.
It's so funny. You remind me of my mom right now when you say that, because I'll tell my mom stories about things that she did. She'll be like, "Oh boy, stop you making stuff up." And I'll be
Making
like,
it up.
I swear to you, this is my life. This is what you did. Whatever the case may be, that is what happened. She'd be like, "Oh, you just be making up any old story." And I'll be like, "Mom, it
I
really
just had
happened.
an
I was
argument with my
traumatized."
daughter about cup of noodles. I'm telling somebody like, yeah, cup of noodles is, I didn't raise my children on noodles. And she's like, Mom, you bought us noodles. I'm like, I didn't really buy no noodles, man. Yes, you did. Well, I'm like, where's my memory? Like, I don't remember this stuff y'all talking about. Y'all making up shit on me. Excuse me. Y'all making up stuff on me, and I don't like it.
Listen, I feel like either we cross into an alternate universe and we didn't realize it, or it's like the Mandela effect. Like this universe is a little bit different, and we just don't realize other people have different memories. But it is funny, like talking to my mom and like doing that, and it makes me think about the things that my son is going to remember that I did, and that I'm like, that never happened, and he's like, yeah, Dad, that happened. I'm like, that is not how it went down. And,
well, because it's not, in the grand scheme of things, parenting is not something that you plan. It's everyday life that happens. And so once you get to the end of parenting, you're just glad your kids are still living. Whole time, they starting to think of all of the ways you punished them, and they didn't go to this party and they didn't get to do this. You could care less about that. You just want them out of your house and being able to support themselves,
yeah, to be productive members of
citizens.
yeah. Do you remember the first time when you had the realization that, oh, my parents are just people, like, because when you're growing up, you're like, your parents are like, these major figures that know everything and everything they say is right, and then you grow up and you're like, oh, they're just people, like, who are just trying to figure it out, just like I'm trying to figure it out with my kid.
I came to the realization my parents were just people in doing stand-up. I started reflecting on, like, my dad was the funniest person in the world to me. Like, he just said the most outlandish things, but he was so sincere about them, and he was so passionate about it that, you know, as a kid, I have a bit about my dad blaming a white man for everything. It's a long bit, but, and I used to say, like, yeah, you know, I want just to pinpoint this one white man that's ruining my dad's life, like, you know, because I'm scared of this motherfucker, you know, excuse me, I'm scared of this guy. Anyway, so, but the bit is long, but my dad was 84 when he passed. So on stage, I like to say, I don't call my dad a racist. I call him an extremist because of what he went through in his life. You know,
Yeah.
he was born on the Eastern Shore, a couple of years short of slavery still being legal. Like, my dad swears up and down he was working at 3 years old, picking crabs, bringing money, 5 cent, 8 cent home to his family. Like, so he's been through so much. He was entitled, I felt, to his opinion on how he thought the world is.
Mm-hmm.
So I never called him an extremist, but he was funny. And like, his point of view was hilarious. Like, he always blamed white people for something, right? But his favorite actor was Ronald Reagan. Make it make sense, okay? He loved Ronald Reagan. And I'm like, I asked him, my dad's like, Dad, you know, you always talk about the white man, but why are you sitting up here watching Ronald Reagan? And he looked me in my face and was like, I love to see white people kill each other. And I'm like, really? Like, you can't make this kind of stuff up. I'm like, really? Like, you know, okay, Dad.
He loved the fact
whatever.
that Ronald Reagan had a high body count. That's amazing.
In a Western, he would love to watch Ronald Reagan in Westerns, and they'd just be shooting at each other. I'm like, really? You know, okay, so, but yeah.
I think it's crazy that Ronald Reagan had a high body count in the movies of white people and a higher body count of black people in real life.
In real life, right? And that he was able to transition it to become a president, okay?
So wild. It's just, not to get political, but it's just wild because I don't know if you saw, like, they were trying to court The Rock to run for president, and I'm like, where are we at that we're just looking towards the coolest movie stars to be our, like, is that where we're at? Like, somewhere we took a wrong turn.
Because it's just, and this is a part of parenting, trying to navigate and showing your children the importance of politics, because a lot of times that gets lost in translations. A lot of the younger generations really don't see the importance of why they should vote, why they should pay attention to Congress, why they should listen to these bills that are being passed. Why is the Supreme Court justice so important? So that's a really big part of being a parent nowadays, is showing kids, get off of TikTok and maybe go over to CNN or Fox News or something and look at some of these congressional meetings and what they're saying, because this is going to affect your life.
Yeah. I personally think another thing in addition to that is learning to take responsibility for the things that keep you alive. For instance, like, figure out where your food's coming from, figure out how to grow your food, figure out how to make your food, if you're eating meat, figure, somebody had to hunt and kill for that. You know what I mean? Like, figure that stuff out too, because that's also important, because I feel like right now we have so much civilization stacked on top of civilization, right? So you have people who are like, I will just go to McDonald's to get food, right? And it's like, okay, your food's ready made and it's already there. That's like civilization that's stacked on another part of civilization, which is the people who get the food to process it or whatever. So some people be like, oh, I'll just go to the grocery store. And that's like a level under that. And it's like, listen, the base level of what you need to figure out is how to grow your own food, or how to catch your own food and how to make it. And then up from there, you can be like, oh, I'll go to the local farmer who goes and catches and does all this type of stuff, and just learn how much civilization has been stacked on top of civilization, so you can do for yourself. Because at the end of the day, like, it might come down to, we got to take care of each other. And then if you have no ability to do that, then you're not going to be of use to, like, society. People, like, it's going to be real hard for you if, like, all of a sudden the grocery stores are closed and you don't know how to make anything.
That's so true. I'm just going to speak on the Black community. I just feel like a lot of us being able to be self-sufficient has been lost culturally. Like my mom's best friend owned a farm on the Eastern Shore. I know how to farm. I know how to do green peppers, butternut squash, corn, jalapenos, all that stuff. But that's things that my children don't know. And because of the limitation they put on Black farmers, it's very few in America.
Mm-hmm.
So that you make a great point. Like our children are not able to be self-sufficient if they needed to be, because we are dependent on technology now.
Yeah.
Fake chickens, fake meat,
Mm-hmm.
everything is got something that's going to cause cancer. Like it's a lot that we have to worry about with our children.
Yeah.
And you think of the like I was thinking of, I saw a movie and I think it was like 2064, and I'm thinking, well, I might not be around, but damn, what is it going to be like for my children in
Mm-hmm.
those years?
Yeah. I'm just hoping against hope that, things get better. But that's why where you point out about the politics, like if you learn about farming and all that type of stuff, then when you go into politics, you'll know what you want to happen. Because a lot of times people are talking about, oh, we need this rule and this rule, and then they don't even know like the baseline of like what society is and what you need to like have a good civil society and a good community and whatnot. So you go in there and then you calling for laws that don't actually foster those things. And I just think there's a lot of things that are happening now that kind of are breaking the fabric of the foundation, which is your family and whatnot. Like I think a strong family is the beginning of a strong community, and the strong community is the beginning of a strong township and villages, and up and up and up from there, strong states and then strong country. You know what I mean? Like it all starts with like a good family and then a good community and then outward from there. So hopefully I'll be able to instill that in my son, and he'll know that, and the kids coming up, they can know
Mhm.
that. But it's hard because you're living life. Like
Well,
you're
but
trying to make it happen.
it's a lot going on that would make you concerned about the stability of your children's future if you really pay attention to the shift in America, because there is a shift in America. And when you see them taking out Black history and banning books to show you about what happened to the Black man and woman in America, what happened beyond slavery, when you see them trying to micromanage our communities and really push for the Latino community to take over the Black position in America, you really have to go deep down inside and ask yourself, where is my child's position in America in the next 30 years or the next 40 years? When you pay really close attention to, they put a lot of mixed babies on TV, a lot of mixed couples on TV. You have to be able to see through the narrative and actually honestly ask yourself, what is it that I need for my children to understand and know so that they can navigate through this and be successful and come out on top? That's
Yeah.
stuff that our parents did not really I don't think they entertain like we have to entertain with our children.
Yeah. My baby is also mixed. So he's going to be dealing with that part of it too, because he's going to
Mhm.
be coming from a different standpoint. I'm definitely making sure that he has a lot of like our history in it, but he
Mhm.
has other history that is part of his lineage. But I just know how hard it's going to be growing up in this day and age, and straddling that line, because I'm sure he's going to love his mom's side of the family, and I know he's going to love our side of the family, and it's just going to be hard doing that. But in addition to what you were talking about in terms of like taking stuff out of the books, like if you if you start really studying things, you'll start thinking thinking and understanding how much stuff has already been taken out of books, and like how much of history has been missing. You know what I mean? And like like in Africa and everything, there's whole subsects of it, of the history of Africa, that are just gone, nobody knows about. Like they would have you believe that it was just sticks and stones there for the longest time. and you never, I mean, I don't know when it was I learned it, but it was definitely well after high school that, you know, Egyptian society and African society was far more advanced than we were led to believe in like the history books. And in my mind, if you tell some people the only thing that y'all had was sticks and stones and then y'all were slaves and now y'all are here, they don't understand like what the possibilities of their people have been and where they can be and how they can actually regain that footing. You know what I mean? Like
How
regain that
powerful
understanding.
or how rich culturally you are as a Black man and woman here. If you don't, if you're not being taught anything positive about yourself, right? I would, I mean, what makes you want to stay in school? I mean, and I'm not saying it in an ignorant type of way, but if you go to an institution every day, and every day you go to an institution where you're not seeing yourself in it,
Mm-hmm.
why, what would make you not drop out? Like, what would stop you from saying, you know what, this is, let me go over here with my brothers? And like, you have to instill something in people that makes them feel good about themselves
Mm-hmm.
as children. And I know for my children, it was a trend that almost all of their teachers were white.
Yeah. Well,
Not,
so
you know.
so with that being said,
Mm-hmm,
because here's the thing that I do worry about is when you have that, right?
mm-hmm.
People aren't being shown how great their history and their lineage is and what the possibilities that they could then do, and they're only getting shown this narrow thing like, oh, you could be an activist or what, all this other stuff, and not knowing that there are plenty of inventors and all these other things that are possible for them. And then, you know, they become distant, and then they get over I guess over disciplined because they're distant, because they don't care about like what's happening. Like, how did you handle or navigate that? Because I'm very aware and nervous about like my son being over disciplined and really kind of like killing that happy, hopeful, creative spirit that we've cultivated in the house as he was young, as he moves into like school and whatnot. Did you ever worry about that?
Well, no, because my dad, my parents always taught me and my children how great and how powerful that they are. And so even, you know, with, I have a son that acted out, you know, even with that, he, ignorance is bliss. Like, you still knew what it was, who you are as a Black man in
Mm-hmm.
America, what your plight is going to be. I'm never going to sit up here and act like, oh, you just on this even scale with every, no, it's not, unfortunately, that's not what, where we living at. So I always, you know, just instilled in my children like, Black is beautiful, Black is strong, Black is powerful. And I always had my children on Black History Month to let them know, like, everything in America almost is because of the hard work and effort of an African American, period. Almost every invention stems from a Black man. Even if you go into your school books and you see a white man, that's because that white man had a patent or it was stole from us. You got the refrigerator, the toilet, the security system, the microwave, the coffins. Like, I could go on and
Isn't the
on.
light bulb too?
Yes, I could go up there. And Alexander Graham Bell, he stole his patents from a, like, come on, everything. You are great. However, you're going to live in a society that's going to continuously tell you you're nothing, and you got to believe in yourself, and I believe in you. And that's how you have to promote it to your children for them to even begin to see that they are somebody.
Yeah, and you have to have a heavy dose of it early on in life, early, because as soon as they step out of the door and they're out of your purview, it's like the world, it just starts battering. It just starts like weighing them down, weighing them down, weighing them down. And I feel like I had so much confidence built up from being young and being like so loved between like my mom and grandmother, my aunt, my, you know, grandfather, dad, like all of that built up, that going out into the world, you couldn't tell me that I was, because I knew I've already, you know, come from somewhere where I was extremely like loved and told that everything was, you know, all good. So that's why I'm like very aware of like the positivity that I'm putting into him, so that when he goes out into the world, it doesn't happen. But then I think about all the other kids who are like raised, and just through parenting, like if your kid does something, you want to like discipline them. And I see so many parents will discipline them and being like, you did this, you're wrong, or whatever, blah, 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 which is great maybe for, some kids. But I feel like our kids, they need to have things positively reinforced for when they go out into the world, because it's going to be beaten down into them, when they go out there. So that's just my personal feeling. It's like, even if you're disciplining them, discipline them with kind words, or discipline them like show them the right way, as opposed to like just like, you did this, you wrong, you did, you know what I mean? And then they go out to the world and they get reinforced that, and then you wonder like, oh, why are they getting in trouble? Well, because all you've done is reinforce like they're wrong. They keep doing wrong and they're going to do wrong. So they just like, well, why try to do right? I'm always wrong, right?
But once again, you are the example of we having good fathers in the household. I think more important, and that's one of the most important things in the Black family, is a Black father. I can't say it enough. I don't like when people spin narratives. I don't need a man or this and that. No, ma'am. Black fathers are the most important part of the family. And I don't think that that's emphasized or talked about enough. And I don't think that Black fathers are celebrated enough. It's so many good Black fathers out here that when I hear these narratives, I'm like, I didn't have that experience. Mm-hmm. I had a great stepdad, like a stand-up Black man. And so, and my children's father is a stand-up guy. I mean, they're not perfect. And my husband now is a stand-up father. So I don't know all of these bad fathers and where they at.
Yeah. We're not seeing it, but it's just, listen, anytime you want to celebrate me as one of these great, but I'll take a party, you know what I'm saying? Anything you want to do, you want to throw a happy hour, I'll be there. We should do that. We should do like a Black Father happy hour. You know what I mean? We just come out and just, celebrate each other, give each other a pat on the back, because it is a harrowing experience sometimes. It's a little bit like, whoa, that was rough. That was a rough week.
And, I mean, even with mixed children, like they still have the same problems, because let's just be real. Black people are colorists too. We have a lot of deep rooted colorization in our own community. So I have my granddaughter, she's mixed, and I'm going to make sure that she understands that, yeah, you may be mixed, but in society, you're still a Black woman. And so with that being said, they got to be balanced, because I have a couple of mixed friends, and they were the most, I'm going to say, they were the most, I'm not going to say mentally confused, but they didn't have identities. I felt like the mixed kids that I grew up with really had a hard time identifying with somebody. And I don't know what that feels like. And I would hate to even know what that feels like.
Well, well, here's the thing is, it would be super difficult because, and I know this, like when you're mixed and then you try to go in Black environments, it's hard because you're less accepted, because it's like, oh, you mix, you think you da da da. Really, when they're like, I'm literally just trying to fit in, and you get that, right? And then when you go into white environments, you're clearly not one of them. You know what I mean? Like, come on, you're not one of us. But or you get the side where they fully have to be like, well, to be one of you, I gotta shed all my Blackness. You know what I'm saying? And then that's where you're talking about, you get like the confused. And then on the other side of that, they'll be like, I gotta shed all my whiteness to be the most extreme of, you know what I mean, the stereotypical Black that you see. That's where you see them like going the hardest. You be like, damn, the light dude trying to do the most.
Go hard, okay?
Go hard. So I feel like when you have a good understanding of who you are, and you don't have to go back and forth between like, oh, what I am and whatnot. You don't have to go back and forth between where I am and whatnot, or who I am. You get a good understanding of who you are, and you don't see that huge schism between like trying to prove that I'm definitely not Black, or I'm super Black. You don't get that. So I'm trying to make sure that I instill, he knows where he comes from. Oh, is this the little baby?
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Was the baby crying?
Crying, yeah. Her mom is sweet.
Oh no. The little baby's crying. Oh, so cute. How old?
She's 2 months. She's 2 months. She's
Oh, look at that.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that
she's
that is so beautiful. All right, well, I see you have the baby, so let me just ask you the last question. And this is our blurting question that we like to ask. And the question is, what do you like to nerd out about, or what do you like to? What's the thing that you would say you nerd out about the most?
what was that question again? I'm
What
sorry.
do you nerd out about? Like, what do you like to nerd out about? That's our blurting question.
Oh, nerd out about. Wow. Okay. That don't. I had a brain freeze. What do I nerd out about? Coffee.
Oh, really?
I'm definitely a coffee nerd. Like and I'm bougie about my coffee too.
Where do you
Like
like your coffee from?
so one of my favorite spots, don't laugh at me, to get my coffee is Nordstrom.
Really?
Yes. But
Shocking.
I am a Starbucks girl.
Uh-huh.
I do Trader Joe's, and to me, I'm sorry, but Dunkin' Donuts is the bottom of the barrel. But I do go there from time to time. But yeah, I'm really into coffee.
Do you ever get like whole beans and like brew your own coffee?
No.
That's the next step. That's the
Well, yeah,
next thing you
because
got to do.
normally I'm on the go. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah. So you ain't got time for it.
No.
Well, shoot, that is super cool. What's your favorite coffee drink?
I like a honey almond latte. I like a really good honey almond latte.
Okay. Caramel macchiato. That's a
Yeah, that used to be my fave. Like I really loved the caramel macchiato for so many years with extra caramel sauce. I used to go to Starbucks when they sold everything on the floor. People don't understand, like Starbucks is not the old Starbucks is not the Starbucks we go to now. Like you could literally go into Starbucks and buy everything that you wanted to make your coffee right off the floor. But the bigger they got, they didn't want you to be able to make your own coffee like that anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's like just buy our stuff. You'll be fine if you just get our
Mm-hmm.
coffee and whatnot. Oh man. All right, cool. So this has been an amazing episode. We really loved having you here. Tell people where they can find you. Where can they find you next? Any shows that you got coming up? Anything that you want to shout
Um,
out or talk about?
let's see. I have so many shows coming up, and so I do. I have a show on the 23rd. I'll be at the 17th and 18th. I'm sorry, I'll be at the February. I'll be at the DC Improv. So come through because we might be having 6 shows.
Ooh. Okay. What's the name of the show? Is it a name show or is it for someone?
Lounge, they have the comics in the lounge.
Oh, I love it.
And they don't name it, but there are some really good shows. People be sleeping on the fact that even though it's not a big name, it's really good comedians out here that are coming with the funny.
Yeah. Low level comedians like myself, you know what I mean? We're on the up and coming.
Don't start, because baby, I'm at the open mic with you, okay?
Right. we're all in there, you know what I mean? But I do
made it. In this business, you have not made it until you made it. And the quicker you realize that, the less you'll take things personal, because you can take a lot of things personal and stand up. But as soon as you remember, like, I made it till I made it. A lot of this stuff roll off your shoulder and you can keep it moving.
Mike Tyson had this quote where he said, somebody did something like disrespectful to him, and somebody asked him like, yo, didn't that make you angry? And he's like, when I think that I'm somebody, it makes me really angry. But when I remember that I'm nobody, then I don't worry about it, And I feel like that's the same thing in comedy when you feel like you've been slighted or whatever. When you think you somebody, I've been doing it for this amount of years, I've been doing you get all upset. But when you remember, I'm nobody in this game. Nobody owes me, nobody knows me, nobody, anything. So, and that's why when I try to go up there, I try to kill it and I try to do the best that I can. And I hope to be doing a lot more shows with you, a lot more often, in a lot more places.
Together soon. And I'll be hitting you up about what's it's going to be. I want to do another Ray Diva and Friends at the in DC. So I'll be letting you know.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I appreciate it. I would love to come out. Thank you. I would love to come out. Love to see you again. That's a beautiful baby. That's a grandbaby, right?
Yes. I take
Oh,
it down. People be like, "Oh, that's your baby." I'm like, "No, this is a grandchild."
but that's because you're holding it together well. They're like, oh, they talking to a grandma right here. Okay.
So, oh, grandma, I
What's
can't
your
believe.
can I ask you what's your grandma name? What's your granny name?
Auntie Ray.
Auntie Oh, really? Like, Auntie Ray. Because we got a lot of moms. Some people say mammy, you know what I mean? Some people it's like, nah, I don't want none of that. Just Auntie Ray.
I'm your aunt. Your aunt is your grandma. Like, let's just do that.
I like that. All right. Well, shoot, this has been an
It's
awesome,
been
amazing episode.
this is a really great podcast, you guys. And I'm supporting. I'm going to watch it every week and share it. So yeah.
Thank you. Well, we'll be having great new guests on like yourself. And hopefully we'll keep doing more things, get more and more, guests on here to have more and more perspectives and whatnot. So I think it'll be really fun. And I think this episode pretty much like covered the gamut. We talked about parenting. We talked about being old parents. We talked about a great show at the DC Improv. And we talked about colorism, talked about, mixed babies.
We covered a lot.
We covered a lot, so I don't think there's anything to say except for blurt that out.